Olá, você está no Botafogo The News. Confira a continuação da entrevista impactante de John Textor, veiculada no Sport TV. O norte-americano confirma investimento pesado na folha do Botafogo e quer deixar a CT do Glorioso no nível de excelência do centro de treinamento do Crystal Palace.
I'm not going to tell the fans it was my first choice in Brazil. I didn't think anybody would take on something as big as Botafogo. I was looking at Brazil, not because of a particular club. I think anybody paying attention knows among the best talent in the world comes from Brazil. Often routes through Portugal. I think Brazil, I think France, I think Africa is where you find the talent. I think when you marry that talent with structure and systems and drilling and repetition and, I think amazing things come when you combine the technical and creative nature of players in this region with, time-tested models of, execution. So I think talent is what drew me to Brazil. And I think the opportunity to be a part of it just as it's happening here is very compelling. Why Botafogo? Well, when I was looking at these smaller clubs that I thought would be easy to handle, two young men that I've worked with kept bringing up Botafogo. And I'm like, it's like buying Newcastle or Manchester United. Nobody buys Botafogo. I mean, nobody should ever own, these clubs, right? But it happens that we do. So I think an owner, it's just today's caretaker until I die and this club goes 100 years beyond me. But to take on something this big, I think I started to think about it more and more and think it's possible. I think the people at Botafogo are very well organized. They'd embraced this new law. They kicked this into high gear. Last year in the second division, they already began making a lot of the decisions that were necessary to divorce the club from bad business practices in the past and to be a more efficient club going forward. So I'm really not taking on a construction project quite the way you might fear. So I have the great honor of being able to step into this glorious, traditional, big club when a lot of the cleanup work's been already done. They have the momentum of the championship. We have a very short window to bring in our global relationships, our global view of talent, our capital. I can tell you some of what you see from the fans, like, John, you have to go get this player, John. And by the way, I love on Instagram and Twitter, somebody will say, I love you, I love you, I love you. Thanks for supporting our club. And oh, by the way, if you don't sign this player, you're dead to me. Right? So I understand that the love affair lasts the length of a honeymoon. But that said, there are really, really good ideas of players that have gone on to great things in Europe that still bring a lot to the table when they want to come back home. And they're players that maybe haven't thought of coming back this early, but maybe this change that's happening in Brazil right now where the Red Bulls of the world are showing up, people like me are showing up, maybe that sort of inspires people to sort of consider their home country as not just a place you return to at the end of your career, but somewhere that you really truly want to be at the peak of your career. I can evangelize, what we are as a club historically and what we're going to be in the future with these great changes and this great investment. And I believe that we will be successful in convincing people to play here because it's an incredible thing to bring titles to Botafogo. Some of the ideas that the fans are throwing out there are terrific. Some of them are pipe dreams, players that are really expensive. That said, what these veterans, to the extent any come back, or they don't have to be veterans from Brazil, they can be people that just want to play here. They bring leadership, they bring wisdom, they bring, the most important thing I think at football is calm. It's amazing how much is confidential that's already out on the internet. So, generally speaking, it's not a one-year thing. The club wanted to see a significant multi-year guarantee of player salaries and of operating expenses and capital investment. So the three sort of principal drivers of success on the field, capital investment in the facilities, in the academies, making this a better place to play. Don't think that doesn't matter, right? I mean, at Crystal Palace, we put millions of dollars into our academy, and the first teamers who are right across the street in very good facilities are now suddenly go to our website. They're now training at the academy because the academy is so nice. So players need support. They depend on facilities, and so the capital expenditures required of us over a multi-year period were a significant part of the contract. As I said, again, the operating expenses, everything from finance to marketing to global footprint in terms of scouting. I think that you cannot hold yourself to a standard as a fan or as an executive and say, hey, we're a big club, pound your chest based on something that happened 20 years ago, unless you really have the resources to be a globally significant football power. And that means having tentacles of scouting and relationships and marketing and strategic partnerships all over the world. I may have come to Brazil to see this Brazil team win and satisfy the thirst of the people in Brazil, but I didn't come to Brazil to manage a microcosmic business that never, realizes the opportunity that comes from being a globally focused organization. What you saw at the airport with a bunch of people rooting me to be here, I haven't won anything yet. What you saw there was hope. Nothing to do with me. It was hope. It was a sense for a moment in time. What this government did, what these clubs have done, this move to the SAFs, and to have a chance to come in at the very beginning of that and maybe do it better than they did it in Portugal or other parts of the world. I hope that that excitement, that sense of history that these fans have that caused them to go to the airport that day, now I have to honor that, and we've got to deliver and we've got to execute. I was very happy that I had a mask. If you see me in the video and I'm grabbing my head, that's me trying to stop myself from having a crying moment in front of 1 million people. It's so emotional. I mean, it's like doing nothing to deserve. I cried when I watched Field of Dreams every time I watch it. There's a little boy who couldn't have been more than 4, wanted to give me a fist bump and a high five. And so these little moments, it was really special. The gentleman with a 20, honestly, I was getting, literally manhandled. I was getting groped. Somebody was giving me a really nice back rub, right? So I mean, it was hard to focus on whether that was, reais or euros, or I know it wasn't dollars. But I wasn't sure why I should take his money. I think I came here to invest money, not extract money. We have a short amount of time, and we've got to get it right. We have to carry the momentum of winning the championship into the momentum of moving up the table in the first division. Now, we may want to win. We may want to finish in the top of the table. Everybody does. But we have to fight and claw as if we're coming in last place in the first division. We have to put everything behind this, because we need to win early. And that's not just because it's Botafogo. That's the mentality of every Premier League club. The way you beat relegation and the way you climb the table is by winning your first games, getting a head start in a league, driving into the midseason and finishing strong. So I think the club was very smart to require things of me that I think are obvious, but they're handing me their baby, so they deserve accountability. And so there are material increases to payroll that are structured in our agreement. There are material increases in the operating expenses across the total organization, because we understand that, the organization has to grow and scale and support everything that's happening with the goal to making, the players more successful. So, a lot of that's not public. I think it's going to be public in the very coming days. I think the fans will be very happy with what the club expected of me and the investment we're going to make.